Hello students, let's start our next topic, determination of Planck's constant and work function. So in the previous session we have already seen the photoelectric effect, Einstein's photoelectric equation for which he got the Nobel Prize. We have already seen that, right? Okay, right, and of course the dual nature of the particle and all that what we have already seen, the photon picture, all that we have seen. Now as anyway Einstein gave the theoretical equation, right, regarding the distribution of the total energy. When h nu amount of energy is given to that, part of the energy will be utilized to bring out the electron from the metal surface, and the remaining part is given to impart the kinetic energy, to give the maximum kinetic energy of the photoelectron. We have already seen that he distributed that within the consideration of law of conservation of energy. That's it, right? Now we are going to see the verification of that photoelectric equation given by Einstein, and thus using that we are going to calculate the Planck's constant and as well as the work function. So it's like a proof, you can call it as the experimental proof what he has given, because theoretically we have proved all the laws of photoelectric effect using that Einstein's photoelectric equation. Now we are going to see the proof for this particular equation also, mathematical and as well as the practical too. Anyway, you don't have that experimental verification of the Einstein's photoelectric equation in your syllabus, but the mathematical thing you have. So now let's look about that. Actually Millikan did this in the previous also, we told, right, the experimental setup, that Leonard Millikan setup, which you have already seen, that motion of the electrons towards the cathode collector and all that you have seen, right? All that Leonard Millikan experiment that was. So now Millikan verified this Einstein's photoelectric equation keeping all these conditions, and as well as he verified that practically also. And because of his work in the verification of this Einstein's photoelectric equation, Millikan also has been awarded with a Nobel Prize. Okay, so now let's look into the topic. So when we consider that equation, and if we plot a graph for a particular metal, if we plot a graph for frequency, which you can see here, frequency along the x-axis I have mentioned here, and stopping potential along y-axis. Taking that, have we drawn this graph earlier? Do you remember? We have drawn for keeping the metal constant for different metals, we did. Yes, that's the same graph. I told you already, the next topics we will continue further this. That's what it is, the fourth graph. So that's what I am taking here. So for one particular metal which I have taken, so if we plot a graph between frequency and stopping potential, look here, not for all the frequencies the photoelectric effect started. So from there one particular frequency, this is what we call that nu naught. This nu naught is called threshold frequency. Are you getting the point here? And this is what is straight line having a slope. I am calling that slope to be as theta. Okay, if I backplot this graph, look here, it's going to cut the y-axis in the negative side, which means it is cutting the negative y-axis, and I am mentioning that intercept to be as W naught by E. Of course this negative sign indicates it is on the y-axis, so W naught by E. Let's see how we will get this and all. Okay, according to the Einstein's photoelectric equation, what we can write down, Ke max equal to h nu minus W naught. That's it, right? Of course h nu minus h nu naught is nothing but W naught. Okay, right. If V naught is the stopping potential, why we are using this? When the electrons are having the maximum kinetic energy, what will be the potential at that condition? Stopping potential only, right? So with maximum velocity they will touch that plate, hence that's what I am calling. So if V naught is the stopping potential, can I replace this maximum kinetic energy with EV naught, where EV naught is that equivalent, right? So can I replace? So that's what I am going to do now. So Ke max will be always equal to EV naught. Remember, while solving the problems also this equation relation is very useful. Ke max equal to EV naught. So EV naught equal to h nu minus W naught, divided with E on both sides. So V naught equal to h by E into nu minus W naught by E. Look at this. Can I compare this equation with y equal to mx plus c? Can I write down? Can I write down that it's in the format of y equal to mx plus c, right? That's it, no? Having this slope and as well as the intercept, isn't it, or not? Along the y axis we have the V naught, and along the x-axis, look here, in the place of x we have nu, and in the place of m, slope, we have h by e. So slope is h by e, while c is of course minus w naught by e, which you have already seen this here. So are we clear with this now? Okay ma? Right. Now look at the figure carefully. I am going to consider 2 points A, B, and thus of course extrapolating down, which mutually perpendicular, so that they will cut at point C. Now go for this in the triangle tan theta. What I will get if I go for tan theta opposite by adjacent, which is nothing but which gives me the slope AC by BC, which is nothing but h by E. That's it, right? Look here in this expression. If you compare that, that's what h by E we got. So in the figure also tan theta is nothing but AC by BC, slope of V naught nu graph. That's it, right? So which is h by E. So upon equating them, h equal to E into tan theta. So if I want the Planck's constant, that's what, right? We have started determination of Planck's constant. So E into AB by BC, which is a constant. Charge of the electron is a constant. AB by BC. So you can ask me, sir, this may vary. No, it won't. Do you remember the fourth graph in the previous sessions which we have seen? There we have observed, right, for all the different metals, all the graphs are inclined at the same. Their slope will be obviously same. Hence, this is a constant one, which means this h equal to E of AB by BC, which will be always a constant, and thus Planck's constant. Planck's constant is a standard value, right? 6.62 10 power minus 34 joule second. Okay, that's what it is. Coming to the other part, which is nothing but the C, intercept. Look at that on the y-axis, this part I am speaking about, this intercept. What we got, that was W naught by E. So from there, if we want to calculate the work function, W naught equal to E into magnitude of the intercept. That's it, right? We got in the place of C, we got W naught by E. That's it, right? Compare that. So whatever the intercept we got, that will be the same, no? In the place of C. So my W naught by E. Of course, this negative sign indicates it is along the negative y-axis. So that's not a deal. So magnitude. Hence, if you want the work function W naught, if you plot this graph, we can, if you multiply the magnitude of the intercept with the charge, we will get the work function. Are you getting the point here? Are we clear with this, ma? Right. Okay. Let's go to the next topic. A very, very important one, which is nothing but photoelectric cells. Photoelectric cells. What are photoelectric cells? Or simply you can call it as photocells. You can see here I have mentioned classification of the photoelectric cells. There are actually 3 kinds of photoelectric cells, or you can simply call them as photocells, which you can notice here. One is this photoemissive, second one is photoconductive, and the third one is photovoltaic. Photoemissive, photoconductive, photovoltaic. Okay, we will discuss about all these 3 now one by one. So first of all, let us start from photoelectric cell, or simply photocell. The name itself speaks about that. Okay, a photocell or a photoelectric cell is an arrangement which converts light energy into electrical energy. So a photocell is nothing but which converts light energy into electrical energy. Again, conservation of energy, which is nothing but. So we are converting one form of energy into another form. The device which converts the light energy into electrical energy, simply to say, is nothing but a photocell. Are we clear with this, ma? Are we clear with this? Right. But this particular photocell works on the principle of photoelectric emission. So works on what principle? All these photocells, whatever we are actually speaking about, photoelectric emission, or you can simply call it as photoelectric effect. That's it, right? So these photocells will measure the intensity of light by measuring the photoelectric current when light is incident on a photosensitive surface. And of course, we can also call these as electric eye. These are also called as electric eye. I'll tell you why we call them as electric eye. What an eye do? Generally, it observes. That's it, right? Observes the things which are actually around that, and it collects the information, the same. And by the way, guys, anyway under your project you can consider this to be as one of that project, electric eye or electronic eye you can call it as. Later anyway the detailed instructions will be given for you later regarding the projects also. Okay, so first let's understand this. Okay, so what is a photoelectric cell? The device which converts light energy into electrical energy, and on what principle they work? Photoelectric effect, and they are also called as electric eye or electronic eye you can call them as. Okay, so let's go for the classification. The first one is photoemissive, and the second one is photoconductive, and the third one is photovoltaic. So let's start from the photoemissive cell. Okay, first one can notice there the figure. It consists of the parts. Here is a battery, you can see, and here is the resistor, galvanometer, anode, cathode, and photoelectrons will move towards the anode, and when UV light radiation falls on it. So you can see here. So when electrons are emitted from a photosensitive surface by the action of light, it works on. It's a glass bulb, quartz. So when light radiation falls on it, the electrons will start moving, and this anode, whatever you have taken, that it will be taken into. For your diagrammatic representation, I have represented like this. Actually, it will be like a curved surface, which will be nothing but like this. The entire surface will be. So try to understand. This entire surface will be like this. This entire. I am speaking about this cathode. This will be mounted like this, and here will be the anode. What is the reason? If we place a curved surface like this, the moment when radiation falls on it, more area it can, and thus from all these respective areas the electrons will move towards the anode. So that's what the purpose, why we are actually considering this. Are you getting the point here? Right. Let me erase this so that it will be much clear for you. Remember, all these works on the principle of photoelectric effect only. Keep that in mind. Right. So let's look about this photoemissive cell in detail. Okay. It consists of a photosensitive cathode C and anode A, which are enclosed in evacuated glass envelope or glass cell. A battery is connected to that anode. You can notice there, which maintains the positive potential with respect to the cathode. When light of frequency greater than the threshold falls on this cathode, photoelectrons will emit from that, and these photoelectrons are attracted by the positive anode, which you can notice there. Okay, whenever this particular electrons will flow from the cathode to anode, what you can notice in the circuit, there will be a flow of current. Okay, and remember this entire circuit will be active, which means you can notice the current in the galvanometer until unless you are continuously illuminating the surface. As long as you illuminate the surface, the external circuit maintains the constant current. Of course, through the resistor we can notice that here across the in the galvanometer you can see the reading. Okay, right. But a small amount of inert gases like argon at low pressure will be introduced in the gas envelope. Then such a kind of cells, photoemissive cells, are called as gas filled photoemissive cells, because the presence of gas helps in obtaining more current for a given illumination due to ionization of the gas. Thus photoemissive cells can be classified based on that. So when gas molecules are present here, and as you are irradiating, you will be having a charges and as well as a gaseous medium. So instead of being a vacuum, we can introduce a gas, inert gas, and thus more will be the current which you can expect. Basing on this idea of filling, we can have two kinds of emissive cells. The first one is vacuum type. Current starts immediately after the light is incident and proportional to the intensity of incident light, and they will be used in photometry and in televisions. Vacuums are a vacuum cell, which means if there is no gas at all, such kind of I am speaking about. The moment when it crosses threshold frequency, it will start, and such a kind will be used in photometry and televisions. The second one is just now we spoke about that, right? The gas filled. So the use of those gas filled is current will be somewhat a little larger, and remember that will never be proportional to the intensity. you might have understand why it is not proportional to intensity, because the excess presence of the other remaining gas also will be. So that's what the reason why it is. Hence, such a kind of cells which are having gas filled are more suitable in cinematography and in recording and reproduction of sound. Later in the applications we have, there we can discuss about all this. Okay, right. This is what photoemissive. Let's look into the second one, photoconductive. So this we have finished. Photoemissive is finished. Now we'll go for photoconductive. Photoconductive. Understand again the terms. Okay, this kind of cells are based on the fact that electrical resistance of certain semiconductors decreases with increase in intensity of incident light. Electrical resistance of certain kind of semiconductors decreases with increase in intensity of incident light. Remember, anyway in the last we have a chapter called semiconductors. There we can discuss about how the resistance and all that will be. So for this current particular chapter, keep that in mind, because anyway there also we have this kind of, there also we'll discuss about. So that's why I don't want to stress much here again in this particular chapter. Okay, so resistance, remember this, resistance decreases with increase in intensity of incident light. So look at the diagram carefully there. A thin layer of semiconductor will be placed below a transparent film of some metal, which you can notice there, and this combination will be fixed over an iron plate, the bottom you can notice there. Okay, now when light falls on the transparent film, electrical resistance of the semiconductor gets decreased. That's what, right, the fact, which is nothing but the working principle. Thus current starts flowing. As soon as the resistance reduces, current starts flowing in the circuit, and the current changes when change in intensity of incident light, but with a time lag. It is a main defect of the cell due to which it is rarely used. So when light falls on it, same procedure, but the only thing is the moment when you change the intensity, then alone the value of the current also will affect, and there will be a time lag also, and that's what the reason why we don't use much. For a constant intensity or for a constant illumination alone, we have to keep that in mind, and we have to work on it. Okay, right. Now this is also finished, photoconductive. Now let's start with photovoltaic. Before starting this, I want to ask you a simple question which you might have noticed, provided if you are following the particular topic properly. Have you noticed the figure properly here? Look at the figure. First observe all the three. This photoemissive, photoconductive, photovoltaic. What is the primary difference you might have noticed? Yes, there is no battery at all. Look here. There is no battery at all. Look here. For this also there is a battery. For this also there is a battery externally. Right. But for this we don't have. So this is like a source. Photovoltaic. Now let's look about this, and you will understand what is this photovoltaic cell when once we finish this. Okay, so look at the figure carefully. This consists of a copper plate coated with a thin layer of cuprous oxide. So this is what? Copper plate, cuprous oxide. A semi-transparent film of silver is laid on this plate to provide good contact, which you can notice in this. When light falls on the oxide layer, the electrons emitted from the layer move into the copper plate. Then oxide layer becomes positive and copper plate becomes negative. Hence EMF is developed. EMF is developed between these two. When the moment when it falls, electrons will start move towards this, and this becomes positive, this becomes negative. Okay, hence EMF is developed. So this behaves like a voltaic cell. If a conducting path is provided by the external circuit, the current starts flowing in the circuit. Photovoltaic cells differ from other photoelectric cells in the respective that no external battery is used to accelerate the emitted photoelectrons, as the cell itself generates own EMF. Are you getting the point here? So the moment when light falls, electrons will move from will be ejected from this U2 oxide layer. They will move to the copper, and then this oxide layer becomes positive, this becomes negative, and thus there will be a conduction. When as we provided the path, right, that's what it is. So are we clear with this, all the photoelectric cells and all? Right. Now let's look about the applications of photoelectric cell. We are already speaking about all these, right? So now let's look about the applications of photoelectric effect. In our day-to-day life, we have many applications of photoelectric effect. So I have mentioned only a little and a very few of them. So let's start from the first one, automatic fire alarm. Of course, you can also call it, you can also use it in a different kinds of, like a burglar alarm too. It's not that different. Working is same, but the principal construction, what factor they will take into account, that's again different. So automatic fire alarm, if you look at that, a number of photo cells are installed at a suitable places in buildings for this particular purpose. So whenever there is a fire broke out, whenever there is an accident, light radiations will fall on these photo cells, obviously. Then photo current will start flowing through the circuit, which contains an electric bell, and thus we can able to hear the warning signal. That's what it is. So the moment when fire starts, it will be. And remember, the recent development was not only the fire but also the smoke detectors also, because they also will be having the radiations which can die off. So if they obstruct that particular path, then you can also smoke detectors, all this kind of, not exactly the same but similar kind of working. Okay, right. Next one is burglar alarm. This is also the same. The security systems will be used, right? The same here also we are speaking about. So if a person is approaching between the, or you can call it as, if the particular person interrupts the signal between the sensor and the source, then there is a sudden change in the photo current. That's it, right? Hence, for that case, as the light radiation was stopped, obviously there won't be any current, thus the circuit breaks. As the circuit breaks, we can hear the alarm. So that's what automatic fire alarm. Remember, anyway, you don't have any explanation you need to write down. I'm just giving you the explanation. You have to mention all these topics alone, which is nothing but what are the different applications we have basing on the photoelectric effect. So all these are the different kinds of. So they will be used as scanners in television transmission, can be used in reproduction of sound in cinema film, and paper industry to measure the thickness of paper, to locate flaws or holes in the finished goods, astronomy, to determine opacity of solids and liquids, automatic switching of streetlights, one of the most commonly used automatic switching and switching off. So the moment when light radiation reduces its intensity, which means when the sun sets, the light intensity which is falling on those sensors will be reduced. Thus automatically the inverter circuit switch on the light. Okay, and to control the temperature of furnace, photometry, beauty meters to measure the fair complexion of the skin, light meters used in cinema industry to check the light. You might have this also you might have noticed, light meters. Whenever there is a photo shoot or say the kind of need of a device will be used before the lights, so that the cinematographer or the cameraman can able to see that there is a uniform illumination in that entire region, or else part and part of the skin will be patchy. So that's what the reason. Okay, so photoelectric sorting refers to different bodies will radiate the different kinds of the temperatures, right? So sorting refers to division of. So basing on that, they will be sorted out. And photo counter devices, which are nothing but generally whenever we have a rush, like example in temples and all, you can notice that, right? So if you want to give a proper counting how many persons have visited the temple today, photoelectric devices will be used for this particular kind of counting purpose, which means it's the same, just like the burglar alarm, here it will be nothing but instead of alarm, it will be connected to a counter device. So the moment whenever a particular person crosses that incident radiation, there will be a breakage of circuit. So how many times the circuit has been broke down, or how many times there is a what you call it as interruption in the circuit, that will be counted, that will be given to the counter circuit. So that was kind of. And meteorology